Welcome to this week's episode of AFL Cairns TV. On this week's episode, we'll look back at Round 3's results and some highlights, and then we'll also preview the upcoming Round 4 fixtures. In a big event for AFL Cairns this year, it's the AFL Cairns Allstars representative fixture, which will be played next Friday on the 29th of April at AFL Cairns' home of footy, Cazalys Stadium, and we'll go through the Allstars and Indigenous and South Pacific sides and have a look at who's to watch when these two sides meet. Looking at Round 3's results, we go first to Fretwell Park, where South Cairns took on Cairns City Lions. The Cutters, they were lucky to get a win on Saturday. They kicked a goal after the siren, thanks to Paul Buller, their midfielder. It was a great game. It was tightly contested. Cairns City Lions were probably the better side for majority of the day. Their pressure in their defensive half was brilliant. However, in saying that, South Cairns had plenty of opportunities late in the fourth quarter to get a victory, but it did take up until the final siren. They were 5 points down. Paul Buller went back and kicked the goal after the siren to record a thrilling 1-point victory at Fretwell Park to keep the South Cairns season undefeated. Some key plays that were brilliant. A special mention needs to go to Jermaine Warder for South Cairns. He was phenomenal in the ruck, all around the ground, had plenty of touches, very influential, and probably was a standout in best on ground down at Fretwell Park on Saturday. Of the other Saturday game in Round 3, North Cairns travelled up to the Croc Pit at Port Douglas to take on a determined outfit who were looking to rebound after their Round 2 loss to South Cairns. Look, it was a tightly contested game early. The Crocs were only up by a few goals at half-time. Probably a surprising result to most punters out there. But in the second half, they kicked 15 goals to the Tigers 3, just to definitely run away with the game. Some key matchups. Jesse Mawson, the new recruit for Port Douglas, was brilliant. He finished the game with 7 goals, kicking 4 in the last quarter. So he's also been listed as one of the players to watch in the All-Stars game. So let's have a look at some highlights from the Round 3 game up at the Croc Pit, because there was definitely some from a Port Douglas perspective. The final game of round 3 was held on Sunday, and it was AFL Cairns' first Super Sunday of 2016. Central's Trinity Beach hosted Cairns Saints in what was a cracking day out at Crathern Park. Not only was there a game on, but Central's launched their new female change rooms, and they also unfurled the 2015 reserve grade premiership flag for their club. In terms of the game, it was a great game, really hotly contested. It was only 9 points in favour of the home side at half time, but the Cairns Saints put their foot down in the second half and were able to record a 14-point victory on away soil. So some players that stood out for Cairns Saints: Kieran Daly was phenomenal across half-back, really gave the Saints some forward drive inside 50, and a youngster for the Cairns Saints in his senior debut, Joey Kura, he kicked 4 goals and was brilliant, had a big presence in the forward line. So a gripping win, 14 points in the end. Centrals will be a little bit disappointed after starting the season so well, but Saints would be good. Saints would be happy to get a really good start in round 3 after a slow start in 2016 thus far. The round 3 Allied Pickford goal of the round goes to Cairns City Lions' Rodney North for this absolute pearler at Fretwell Park. Looking ahead at round 4's matches this weekend, the first of which will be at Griffiths Park, where Cairns Saints will have their first home game of the year, and they'll be taking on Port Douglas. Both sides currently sit with a 2-1 record in 2016, and both sides were defeated in the opening rounds by South Cairns. Despite the Saints looking sluggish over the first 2 rounds, they recorded an uplifting win by 14 points last week over Central's Trinity Beach, and we all know that Port Douglas in the second half ran away with their victory over North Cairns. The last time these two sides met was back in the 2015 prelim final, where Cairns Saints progressed through to the grand final and caused heartbreak for the Port Douglas Crocs. Also on Saturday, we have Central's Trinity Beach taking on Menunda Hawks. This time, Central's Trinity Beach will come up against the Fresh Hawks outfit, who had the bye in round 3. Still winless in 2016, the Hawks are going to be looking to get their first win, and they'll be determined across the paddock at Crathern Park. Whilst the Centrals, they're 1-1 after experiencing the bye in round 1. They had a good win in round 2 by 44 points over Cairns City Lions, but last week they were brought down to earth, losing to Cairns Saints by 14 points. They'll be looking to bounce back at home again at Crathern Park. The final game of the round will be played on Monday on Anzac Day. It's a traditional game between North Cairns and South Cairns, and this year it'll be played at Watson's Oval. This game between these two sides is played with plenty of emotion, pride and passion on such a historic day. North Cairns, for their club, they're going to be hosting their first home game. They're going to be wanting to get off to a good start and record their first victory in the season, while they're coming up against one of the premiership contenders in South Cairns. Still undefeated in 2016, the Cutters have knocked off some of the heavyweights already in Cairns Saints, Port Douglas and Cairns City Lions, so they're continuing their momentum into a good start for the season. This shapes to be a cracking game. This game does start at 1:30 in reserves and 3:30 for seniors due to Anzac Day, whilst the other fixtures are the usual time of 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Now for a big event in the AFL Cairns fixture, it's our All-Stars representative game. This game is always hotly contested and it is the third instalment of what's a showcase piece of our fixture. It's the AFL Cairns All-Stars taking on the Indigenous South Pacific All-Stars. The game will be played Friday the 29th of April over here at Cazalys Stadium. It is a 7 p.m. start and it is free entry for all supporters to come along. As I said, it's the third instalment. In 2014, we played it in line with the Port Douglas Carnival, where the Cairns All-Stars got a victory. We then come down here to Cazalys Stadium of a Wednesday night last year, and the Indigenous South Pacific All-Stars recorded their first victory of this enticing clash. We now heading 1-1, and it's a fantastic spectacle, and I encourage as many people to come down and see potentially the best 44 plays in our region hitting it out on a long weekend, so there's going to be nothing held back. Now, we're going to have a look at some of the players to look at. We'll go through the Cairns All-Stars first. Up on screen is the squad that was selected, and we'll go through some of these players now. From Port Douglas, you look at Hayden Graham and Alex Bendel. They're really two good performers that can be influential on the game. Last week, Jesse Mawson kicked 7 goals, so he's going to be someone that might be influential in this game. From Central's Trinity Beach, Sam Conroy, he played in the North Queensland side last year. Always a big game player, and his big body presence is something that will be needed in this game for the All-Stars. For Cairns Saints, Rowan Couchoff, half-back, is damaging, and the new recruiting, Dean Gavin, it'll be interesting to see if he gets a Guernsey because he's a really hard-fought ball-winning player. For South Cairns, James Dixon, he was in the North Queensland side last year. He's got a big presence, he's good at ground level, he's brilliant on the ground, so he's an all-round star. For Menunda Hawks, Cameron Gucci, he's their captain. He's very, very good. We like to see him perform well in this game. He's come over from WA. He's an exciting player. From Cairns City Lions, an interesting point will be their co-coach in Aaron McNabb. He's come up from Tasmania this year, and everyone's looking to see how he goes. So across the board, the All-Stars have got some very good individual plays. It's about coming together and playing as one team to come up against a side that is going to be full of emotion, pride, passion. They're playing for their club, their jumpers, and their culture also. We'll now have a look at the Indigenous South Pacific side. This side will be very different on paper from last year, 2015. So up on screen now, we have a look at this side. They've got talent across the park everywhere you look. From Central's Trinity Beach, Damien Rowe, a fantastic user of the ball, a very skillful player, and he'll be someone to watch. From South Cairns, Jermaine Wardle, he's a phenomenal athlete. He's a brilliant footballer, and he started season 2016 off great. From Cairns City Lions, their captain in Dwayne Boson, he brings a lot of X factor to the side. He's a hard contested ball winning player, and he can be very fleet footed on the outside of the contest. We look at also from City Lions, Duncan Seddon. He's played a lot of football here in Cairns. He was a standout last year, and he'll also be someone to watch. Looking at North Cairns, Leroy Onose moved over from Central's Trinity Beach last year. He's got a big presence in the forward line, and his utility around the ground. If they're in trouble, he can go into the ruck, and he can also go down the back line to help secure that defensive 50. From Menunda Hawks, there's going to be some live wires there. Bradwell Dick, a youngster, he's a phenomenal player. He's such a live wire. He'll get on the end of a few goals and he'll be a damaging player inside 50 for the Indigenous All-Stars. Looking at that side, they've got a lot of flair, they've got a lot of athleticism, and they've got a lot of pace. So they're going to be very damaging on the outside, and the Cairns All-Stars side is going to have to be very wary of that. Not only is this game a key fixture for our players, but it's also an opportunity for our coaches. The Cairns All-Star side will be led by Daniel Locke from South Cairns. He coached the side in 2015 and was also a part of the North Queensland side last year. He'll be assisted by City Lions co-coach in Luke Webb and the two-time Crathern medalist and Cairns Saints dominant forward in Matthew Walsh. Looking at the Indigenous side, they're going to be coached by Menunda Hawks senior coach in Mark Harbrow, and he'll be supported by staunch Hawks member in Gabby Wheatra, and also assisted by North Cairns player and reserve grade assistant in Gavin Ham. We look at this opportunity as a chance for players to put their hand up and play for our local region, but it's also a bigger opportunity for those players that want to put their hand up for North Queensland selection. The All-Stars game will aid the selection of these players to play for the North Queensland side when they come up against South Queensland in July as a curtain raiser to the AFL game. Predominantly, the North Queensland side has featured a lot of Cairns players over its 2-year history, between 16 and 17 players, both years, 2014 and 2015. So we hope we can again have that presence in the North Queensland side. That wraps up this week's episode of AFL Cairns TV, but make sure you do tune in next week because we'll have a big review of the All-Stars game. We'll speak to some of the players, we'll speak to some of the supporters, how they saw the game, how they felt about the game, and we'll give it a good wrap just so you can see the best 44 players in our region go head-to-head next Friday night, the 29th of April at Cazalys Stadium, 7 p.m. For those that do need more information about the upcoming round 4, please visit our website www.aflcairns.com.au, and we look forward to seeing you at the footy this weekend.